I know what you're thinking. Making an entire junk journal in one day? That's crazy. That's lunacy. That is not possible. Oh, yes, it is, my friends, with these beautiful little babies right here. This is the key to our success. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or you're a seasoned bookmaker. Today, we're going to attempt the impossible, to make a junk journal in a single day. Come on, let's go. Hello, how are you guys? It's Michelle from Tape and Twine and Creative Cottage Studio. I'm here today, just about to do a little project, and I figured I'd turn the camera on because why not? I was cleaning out. I'm sure you guys all are in the same position. You do a project, you pull papers, you pull ephemera, and then all of a sudden the project's done and you have this big stack of stuff, and maybe you just put it in a heap somewhere. And then at some point you can't even get out of your own way. You have too much stuff hanging around. And you start putting stuff away and pulling some of your favorites because you're like, oh, I still want this out to use it. And I was doing that, and I ended up getting a stack of things that all sort of fit together. And I thought, well, you know what? These papers have kind of curated themselves. Let's make a quick and dirty journal. And I thought it might be a great opportunity to do a book from the beginning for people who maybe haven't done them before, or just so that you can kind of see my process when I'm throwing something together quickly. So today I'm going to share my love of the Readers Digest condensed books. They are probably the easiest way for a beginner to make a junk journal. Why? Because the covers are already beautiful. Because if you get them with the spines intact, you don't have to make the spine, and they come with beautiful end papers usually. Oh, this one does not. This one does. So this is a good example. They have the nice outside and the nice inside. So what are these books? These books were made in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and I think even in the 90s. But you really just want the ones from the 50s and the 60s, maybe even the 70s, because those had the most beautiful covers. What they were is they were almost like a magazine subscription. You would get 4 books a year, one for every season, and they would condense the books, thus the Reader's Digest condensed books. They would take books that were being released as full novels, and they would condense them down to short stories. Why did they do this? I don't know. I don't know why anybody would want to take a novel and only read part of it, but maybe people who really just, didn't have the time to invest in a novel could at least be well read. They would be up on the most recent books. They would know the plot line. They would have read enough of it to get a good idea of the writing, and maybe that's all they wanted. So that would give them, in this particular case, this is 1958 volume 2, so this must have been the spring one, and you got to read these 5 books. And inside they're literally divided by the book, and they are, so here you go, here's the condensed. I don't know how many pages this book usually is, but in this particular case, this book, The Counterfeit Trader, was condensed down to, let's see, 282, like 75 pages. And it says down here that you could have bought the entire book for $3.95, but this is condensed down for you so that you get a sense of the book just in this section. They were very popular. People subscribed to a whole year of them. and then they had these beautiful covers, and they would put them on their bookshelves. And basically they were made from the cheapest, crappiest paper that you could make, so the pages don't wear well. They turn color very easily, especially as the different decades went on. They used cheaper and cheaper paper. Nobody wants condensed stories anymore, so these are completely almost like worthless as far as to buy for their content, which makes them perfect for junk journals. I feel not bad at all cutting these apart, because I know the insides are essentially worthless. This is very typical of what you'll find with Reader Digest books, because of, I guess, the quality of the materials that they used. They often, you'll find, will be cracked and falling apart on the spine, which is okay if you just want the actual book board and then you want to rebuild the spine, then that's perfect. I have 3 here of varying qualities. So this one here is 1958, and as you can see, I would need to redo that spine. This one here is Volume 4, 1959, and this one has a beautiful, so this was the last one, so this is fall into winter. Beautiful end pages. The spine seems okay. Do you see how brown it is? You can see it just really, the paper doesn't age well, but this cover's in terrific condition. This probably needs to be reinforced. It feels a little dry here, but this one's in fairly good shape. This one, the spine is the best, 1956, but there are no decorative end pages, but maybe that wouldn't bother you. You know, it depends what you're doing. I think I'm going to use this one. I think. Let's see, color-wise, the palette of the things that I've chosen, well, or that I've kind of found. Let's lay them out so I can kind of see what colors I'm looking at. There's this book. This one, which would also go. And this one, which I feel is a little too lime. So now I've narrowed it down to these 2. And I think I'm going to do this one. I'm just feeling this one a lot more. So these are really easy. Let me first of all clear this away until we get to that point. Okay. So I'm going to take my handy dandy craft knife, and as you can see, these are hollow back books, which make them very easy to remove the book block. And basically you can do it 2 ways. I try to take a couple pages from the front, and I just slide down and start cutting the pages away. And they're usually pretty brittle, because these books are never, like I said, they're not really quality books. The paper is very inexpensive paper, which means they're usually dry. The biggest thing you have to worry about is cutting into the spine. You don't want to cut the spine. Oh, my rabbit friend just popped right up in front of my studio window. Okay, so you can see I scraped it a little bit with my craft knife there. I don't know if you can see that, but I didn't damage it, so that's fine. So what happens here is I've kept this intact, which is nice. That will, I can put something in here if I want. I'll have to decide. And same here. I'm gonna rip that page off. Okay, so this is the cover. So right there, What I would have to decide is whether or not I'm going to sew into the back of this cover or make it another hollow back book. Probably I will sew into the cover, and then what I'll probably do is glue a textile on here on the back, but I haven't really decided yet, and that can be done right at the end. So we don't even have to really deal with this until the end, and essentially you're skipping the part of bookmaking where you're cutting the chipboard, you're connecting it to a spine, you're connecting it inside, and you're putting in end papers. That part's already been done for you. So that's one of the reasons why I really like working with these books. Now, you can find them for a variety of costs. If you're lucky enough to find them at a book sale or a estate sale, you can get these for a couple of bucks each. You can find them online for a lot more than that, but they're getting harder and harder to find because people really don't value them and they're just throwing them away. So before I get rid of this book block, which is really not worth anything, I always flip through to see if there's anything interesting. Now, Old Yeller was a very famous book, so there may be some cute pictures in here because that was a country. I like the W there. I don't know if you can see that, the way it's written. That would make a cute little ephemera piece. So I usually like flip through to see if there's any pages with illustrations or anything that's savable. This has some kind of, let's see. Now, so you can tell the difference. Now, look at this paper is different than this paper. And I have not figured that out yet, but different signatures were made from different papers and they age differently. Do you see that? This is what I mean when I say that the books are not, you know, like a really great quality. I'm just going to flip through really quick to see if there's anything that I want to save. Oh, so these are some nice pictures of like some vintage planes, which could come in handy someday. Probably not for this journal I'm doing today, but it's neat. So is that Chinese or Japanese? China. Yep, so this is Chinese. So there's some neat Chinese pictures in here that maybe I will also cut out because they're interesting, and I mean the colors there are pretty cool. So I'll save this book block to go through. This will be a good project for me when I'm sitting and watching TV. Okay, so now going back to the papers. Sometimes things kind of curate themselves. So this is a thick cardstock, so this will definitely be a signature, so I'll put that aside. And what I usually do is I usually just quickly fold and tape pages so that I can make I can stack them into signatures, and then I cut them down. So I usually will keep the book handy just to make sure it looks like it would fit. I love these two bird pages, and one might be a little bit bigger than the other, so I'll have to wait till I have my template. I'll put that aside. These are all great book really nice old pages that I will make into. This one's already folded. This is property of District Number 49, 1954. A little envelope, I'll put that aside. This one's already folded. Little Peter Rabbit. These smaller pieces I will put aside. I have a bag here that will make a great page, either folded as a pocket. Yes, I think that's what I would do. So I'll fold that. And I have some folded pages here that I must have been folding for a different book. So that's good. And this is thick cardstock. Now this is a good one for me to check the size. Might be a little thin to be in this book. So if I put it against the spine, I can see that probably want the page to come to here, but I want it to come out a little bit more. This is too shallow. So that will need to be cut right there, but I need a page that's bigger, wider, but it's folded, so that's good. This page is already connected. Let's see if this one fits well. See, I'm all about making things simple for myself, I have to say. So if this one's already folded and I'm putting it against the spine, and I'm putting it sideways, if you can see. And I like that there's a little bit of trim here, a little bit of trim there. This is probably close, if not the right size. I'm going to move it up a little this way because I want the birds and the text centered. But I'm going to make a little line where I think I will need to cut. Go get my cutter. This is my small studio one. And let's cut this. So now when we try to put this in here, and we put it against it, that's just about perfect. So this is the size that I am going to need for my signatures. So let's see if that measures up. That's perfect with this way, so that makes it even easier. So now, and just another benefit for the Reader's Digest books, this is a standard 8.5 by 11, I believe, piece of cardstock. Let's measure that and make sure. And indeed it is. So this makes making a book even easier because a standard 8.5 by 11 folded in half is the perfect size for a Reader's Digest book. So now if this is your first journal you're ever making, your life just got even easier. Oops, I keep hitting that, I'm sorry. Let me just make sure that that is correct. And it is correct. So the only thing we have to chop off is we have to make sure that this gets cut down. So your cover should always be slightly bigger than the pages inside. Let's make sure that we have the size we want. And this is where I want to cut this line right there. So I'm going to line that up on my piece of paper here. Make a line there, and then I'm going to get the cutter. And then this will be our template for trying to figure out this should be the size of the book cover. So if it's in there, it is just the right size. So now everything that fits inside it should be about the same or smaller. So this envelope will be good, but I'll need to connect it to something. So I'll put that aside until I connect it. So we have this page that can go into here, but I'm just going to use this as my template. These will indeed fit, but this needs to be trimmed. So I'm just going to quickly go through my stack of papers and trim out pages, and then we can stack them. Okay, so I ended up having to change my setup because I kept hitting the camera and I thought I was recording when I was continuing folding and I wasn't. So I ended up folding a lot of these things off camera, but that's okay. I think you get the point. So I ended up with 1, 2. I'm trying to see if I have anything else that's like cardstock heavy. And I only feel 2. So I'm going to need for a spine this big, I would say I would need a minimum of 4 signatures. So I'm going to need a couple more pieces of cardstock to be the covers of those signatures. I just prefer it that way. It doesn't have to be, but let's at least build these 2. So basically what I do is I take the stack of, I'll put them over here. You can kind of see the edge. How's that? Let's put it this way. Do this one and this one. And I'm going to make 2 stacks to go inside of it. So I had this piece of paper, which I think I folded off camera. It was a slightly long, so rather than cutting it, I just folded it, and that makes a pocket. I'm going to put that in this one. I have the small kind of plain paper, so I'm going to put that over on that one. I'm going to use the Peter Rabbit, which was also too long and folded. I'm going to put it on this one. Here are 2 of those really pretty papers that are the vintage birds. So this is what you do. You kind of put them close together like this with just a tiny little bit of space like that. And then you can take a piece of washi tape and run it down the center like this, and then turn it over, fold that over, and then run it again. And you can just trim that. And fold it. And that becomes one of your pages in your book. So I have a couple of those. I have this one, which is German language. I am just going to put something pretty down the center. It's not entirely you can see it's not entirely ripped, so I just want to essentially reinforce it. I can go longer than the page, turn it around, fold it over, and fill in that spot. Again, fold it right down the middle. I'm going to put that in that one. I'm going to put one in here and this one in here. I try to make my signatures like 6 to 8 pages minimum. So let's see, I gotta go plain, then text, then plain, then floral. Let's see, this is pretty, then put a floral over here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's add something plain on top of that. I have this envelope, which I could add to a single page. So this really cute little birds in the garden page, I can just put glue right down here, and then it will be on this side. It'll be hiding some of this, but that's okay. I don't mind that. And we can get more decorative after. And I can even run a little piece of washi on this side. Now again, this is going to be, I'm trying to make a junk journal, an entire junk journal in an afternoon. Now, that's a pretty tall order, but I'm going to try. So that means I can't think about it too much. I have to just put together these pages and try to make it as easy as possible on myself. Again, there's a variety of techniques, and you can make your junk journals as crazy, intricate, or as simple as you like. But what I'm trying to show you is that by using some quick materials and just layering and using a Reader's Digest, you can make a quick book. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so that's 7 pages. So let's stick with 7 as our signatures. So that would be one signature. So then in this signature, let's do, so this paper I folded uneven, as you may have seen, and that's because I like this picture and I don't want this picture disrupted by folding it in half. I don't mind if it's smaller on one side. So that's one page. I'm going to do plain, and then I do a colored page. Now I need something plain or decorator. I have this, which is 2 long. I will change that after. I don't have enough plain paper, so that's where I need to go off camera and get some just plain paper to throw in here. When I say plain, I don't mean entirely plain. I mean just sort of a little bit more simple than what I have out here. This is way too big. Luckily, graph paper is super easy to figure out where to cut, right? I'm going to cut it on that line. And sometimes it's easier just to rip than cut. By taking a nice flat ruler. Metal always works good, and just pull it across. So how many do we have now? We have, that might be slightly too big, so I may need to trim that just a skosh. I don't want to really lose those numbers, but I may lose the top of them. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we need 2 more. Now, I don't want words against words, so I do like this little bag. I think this bag will be in the center. So I'm going to need something a little plain in the front, so I'm going to use a piece of graph paper. And if this is 8.5 by 11, all right, so it needs one of its squares trimmed this way. And lengthwise. add that to that signature. Let's just put that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I have the little bag, 8, pretty close. So now we have 2 signatures that go like that. And let's see what we have for more papers. I'm going to need to get some cardstock for the other ones, but that's okay. Let's just at least layer these. And again, this paper was a little long, so I just folded it. That'll end up making a little flap. This is a plain piece, and then this is grid, so that's perfect. Let's put that like that, and we'll slide something busy in between, like that. And this over here, and then something else that's busy can go on top. Let's see what I have. I really like this page that has the wildflower calendar. How many pages is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can throw something small and sort of plain in the center. So this was 2 pages from a book. This was the front of a book called Linger, and the glue is still on it. This might be a neat thing to have in the center. So I'm going to put that in the center. So I need a cover for this, but this will be the 3rd signature. So we'll slide that in the book. And then let's see what's left. So I have this cute little rabbit picture, and I have this envelope. I don't want to cover either side with that envelope piece though. So what I can do is I can carefully rip the point part of the envelope off like that. So now you see it's just a little flat lip, and then I can just glue that piece on right like that. So see, I'm just really cruising. I'm really trying to not think about it too much. I'm going to put a little piece of washi here just to, and you want to make sure you're not right on the fold. Try not to think about it too much if I'm trying to make a really quick journal, because if you make your journal part pretty quick, then you can really spend the time going on some of these more really fancy embellished project pages and really work on the insides and make a really beautiful journal. Or if you want a journal that you can use right away, that you're just going to collage in every day anyway, you can put one together relatively quickly. Okay, so I have this paper, so that's 1, and I have this one which was a little too narrow, but I really liked it. I think it was too long too. I'm just gonna cheat a little and not use my cutting board for this one. Just cut that. Let's put that there too. Let's do a somewhat, these are a little bit thin though. I don't mind having thin pages in my book. I just don't want them, I just think I need to stagger them. I need a couple full-size sheets. So let me take out this. which I believe was pretty close to full size. A little short, but not too bad. Let's put this guy there. And I really feel like I need a full, see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need, what else do we have left here? Oh, we have this page. Remember that page? That was really pretty, and that was full size. So let's put that in here. I like that. And then let's put these two pages together. And because this page is a little bit longer than the other page, I'm going to trim the washi because I don't want it sticking to the other pages. Okay. All right, let's see where we're at. Good. Okay, and then I believe I have this really pretty card, which I'm going to cover over this at some point, but let's see how many pages we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't want this to be the center, so let me put one other simple page in the center. And then you're going to say, well, you had 8 in there. Well, I will remove 1. Let's first get the measurements. This one's actually pretty perfect. Close this up for a minute. Put that in the center because, like I said, I didn't really want something really like that in the center. I'd rather have this be the center, like that. So what can I pull out? I think I'm going to pull out this little guy here. And I also noticed I did not reinforce the center here, which I should, because even though it's still connected, it's going to be weak. Where did I put that? I think I might have had it in here. Is that right? Yeah. Again, this one's going to need a cover too. But for now, it's the right count. So now we have 4 signatures, minus those 2 covers I have to find. And do you see that it's a little bit squishy here, but as you're filling it up, That's going to really fill up. So we have almost the whole book figured out in like less than an hour. Now, if you didn't have papers ready, I'm going to have a little one here. Let's see what else I had. I had this little guy here, this little guy here. I have this piece of paper still, so let's fold this. And again, this one was longer than the cover, so we're just going to fold it. So let's get my template one. We need a couple full-size things in there. We also have this, which again was not full-size either. So what else do I have left? I have this piece. Pretty busy. I have this piece. I have the Peter Rabbit piece still. I don't like that. So when I get to this point where I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces that I like, but they don't quite fit the book. Oh, and I have this small piece, and I have this, which I really liked. At that point, you decide, should I rethink this and maybe move some things around? So I go 1. This is kind of busy here against this, so let me pull that for now. And we're just really reviewing our pages. And I'm thinking I could use something a little bit taller here. So I'm going to look in here. Look at this one here. See if that would fit there. And I actually do like that better. So I've removed this piece for now. I don't know if that's going to really help me, but we'll find out. So I've just made one change to this one. Look at the second one. It's kind of hard without the cover, but that's all right. So then we have the card that goes into the text, which I like, and goes into this, which I like, and that, which I like, and that, which I like, and that, which I like. But then I don't need another piece of graph paper if something else fits. I don't mind that, and then I like that that's in the center, although the bird, I'd want it probably there. So I've made one change in this signature, and I've gained a very plain page. So then I'll go to this one. Oops. And this one starts with this page 1, 2, I like that. And then this is very plain. I wonder if I could stick this in here. I don't mind that. And then this is plain. Okay, so I made one change there, and I gained this plain. I now have 2 plain pages. So then let's get to the last one. That was the center. So I must have had it like they came apart. Must have had it like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I actually like that exactly the way it is. So then let's now relook at these. So if I start with this and I put this on top of that, I like like that, and then I could go smaller inside here, and that color goes well. And then I can go with a big piece of graph paper, and then I could go with Peter Rabbit and something plain. But see, then I have these two small pieces, which I really wanted. I really like this behind there. I wonder if I made that a pocket or something. I'm going to keep this for the center. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, without the cover. So now that's 5 signatures, and that I think is about right for this spine. And looking at my time, I've done that in about an hour. I got this far in about an hour. So now what I need to do to really pull this all together is I need to find the 2 covers for 2 covers or 3 covers. One, I think I need 3 covers. Yes, 3 covers. I need to stitch these through here, and then I need to decorate the cover. So that's what we'll do next. We are halfway done. We made a lot of progress in like an hour. Okay, maybe if you don't have everything ready and you're working at a slower pace, it might be a couple of hours. But let's say that's the morning. So let's hit lunch, get something to eat, and come back and finish this baby.